Hey guys, and welcome to another video from the Parrot Bros. Now today we're going to do a little video replacing this battery box. Now I'll give you a better look in a minute, but this one is melted like most, and I'm actually going to sort of go through things you should probably check on these regularly. If you're getting any kind of fan problems, definitely check on this. What to look for, what to check, and how to replace it. What more could you want? Right, let's jump into the intro. The battery fuse box, now this has a multitude of cables coming to it. It also has some fan fuses and some other fuses which do ABS and all that kind of good stuff. I'll stick a picture up now just to show you what it does. I'll also reference this picture later on in the video as well, just in case you didn't catch it. But basically, this does a multitude of different things, and often there's a couple of reasons. Sometimes you can have a bad alternator, which can make the cable get hot if it's overcharging or if there's issues. And then that can make the cable get hot and melt. And the most common one is usually corrosion, because if the cable is corroded, like anything, it becomes a poor conductor. Poor conductors will have to work harder to produce what it needs to, thus it will get hot and melt through. Now we also have an issue with fans. The fans, the low speed fails, which means your car will get really hot. The high speed comes on, which normally would only blip on for like 20 seconds just to cool it down a little bit. But it's going to have to work a lot harder because your car's got a lot hotter. It doesn't have the slow speed to help it, and that fuse usually can melt the housing, and it will get red hot. It won't be enough to blow the fuse, but it will be enough to make it overload, run hot, melt into the casing. Now, I have already taken one apart because I wanted to make sure it come apart, because I've used a second-hand one which I had from one of my old cars that I took to bits, because always worth holding on to spares if you've got TTs. But I don't have this cable, so we're going to be replacing this one cable, which I'll probably do off camera because you don't need to see. I can show you how to split it, but there's no point you watching me trying to do it. So I'll show you how to remove all of this lot and what to look for. Let's give you a better view, shall we? Okay, so here's your battery fuse box. Now, I would recommend taking the battery off just in case you decide to start playing with cables. You take this one off and touch that, and then you start doing some welding. So we'll start with that. Now, most are a 10mm, so get yourself a nice little tool. This one may or may not reach, which it typically does not, so we'll take off the pos, which is apparently already loose, which is interesting. So we'll get that out of the way. So we'll start by removing the cables. Ideally, take a photo, because we need to remember what goes in what order. So I'll just quickly whip these off. Now these are, the nuts actually stay on the cable, so don't worry about losing them, because they've got like a captive. I'll give you a close-up. So if you see here, wait for it to focus, see there, it's got that little tab there and there, which holds the nut on, so it saves it getting lost, which is always nice. So get them all loose. What I'm going to have to do at a later date is re-crimp this one off, because this, I don't know if you can see there. Yeah, you can. So this one, all the copper is green, which means it's going to be corroded. It's quite stiff. It's reasonably stiff anyway, but it's quite stiff. And it probably, I'd want to cut it back a bit, get back to some decent copper, and then re-crimp it and put it back on. Now, I haven't got the tools to do that today, but for the video purposes, if you know how to crimp a cable, make sure you get the right size. The lugs usually say on them, but because this is a car one, it might not. It's a 16mm, so you need a 16mm lug, and then you'll need to strip the cable back. Now, there is a bit of slack in it, so you can cut it back a little bit and put a lug on it. It's not a problem. We'll take off this if it will come loose. Yeah. Now this has had a repair loom already fitted, hence why it's wired the way it is. Now I'll show you in a minute what we're going to do with that. So that's the new one, which is going to go onto there when we're done. But obviously, because this one's melted, they've not put it on there. So we'll take the fuses out. You'll see why in a minute. They're all 30s from memory. All three of them. There's one missing because I've been doing some fault finding on the fans, but again, we'll go through that on a later video. Now, this is a normal Vag style plugs. Often It helps if you push it in, squeeze it, then pull it out, and they come out quite nice. Now this is removed. Now you can see how bad the damage is here. Look, I mean, it's actually melted out the side of the casing. Not very nice, and a fire hazard. Like I said, it's only a foot away from fuel, so it's not something ideally you want. So it's really easy to check. This one, just literally squeeze these two clips here, opens the lid, and just give it a visual. I mean, you know, even if you don't know cars or you don't know mechanical or electrical or anything like that, burning is bad. Look at the fuse holes. Make sure the fuses look good. If you're happy to, just pull one fuse out at a time. Just have a look, make sure it's nice and flat, make sure the fuse isn't discoloured, it doesn't look dirty or anything like that. And then you're good. On these pins here, so to check for corrosion, just see if they're silver. If they're silver, that's good. If they look tarnished, like brown or grey or green, then you know they could do with a clean off. Get a little bit of wire wool in there or something and just give it a little scuff up, little contact clean. The plug looks fine. Again, that looks in pretty good nick. So that's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'll come back to you in a minute. So we've got a new one here. Now like I said, I've semi-stripped it already, just to put that cable across. That's what it looks like underneath. So it's the bolts, which then go underneath like so and through there, and then you've got your 3 fuses which holds onto there. So I'm just going to quickly swap this one cable, this one here, across onto this new box. Now this is released, if you want to see how it's released in case you want to take yours apart. There's little tabs, excuse my text message, there's little tabs here, and all you've got to do is just get a little flathead and gently, stay in focus today, use a flathead and just gently prise it forwards. You need a couple of flatheads. Put it in there and just sort of prise it away, be gentle. And if it's old plastic like this one, warm it up before you do it and it's less likely to crack. Then we can swap the main lead and then pop that back together, and then we're ready to swap them over. Right, so I have swapped that over now. So you can see that that cable is back underneath there, all sealed, lovely jubbly. Now the fuses are different sizes, so if you are going to take it apart, lay them out in the order they go back in. The biggest being 150, then I think it's 110. Oh, my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. 150, 110, 40, 50, 50. And then all of these are the green 30s. Right, so putting it back much like the way you took it out. If you have a cover that comes over the top that sits on there that this clicks into, you'll have to do that first. If you don't, like 99% of people, then don't worry, because it's a common problem. Make sure you put it back in the way you came. Again, nice click. Yeah, lovely. And go back to your picture and make sure you know which way it comes. Now, that's not too bad on the bottom. It's nice, it's clean enough that it will be a nice, good connection. Now this has already had the alternator loom repaired, which was the main cause of why it looked like it had been on fire. So don't have to worry about that. I need to sort the fan issue, but I'll leave the fan fuse out for the time being. So it was red, white, red, then a gap, and then the other two. Now we're going to add the other one back in again, but I will be taking that one off to give that a clean up because that is minging. It's also lost a nut. Put a new nut on. Has it got a washer on? No. Give it a washer as well. And then this is our new one. Now this is a repair loom, so it is the right one. It will fit nice in the housing. There we go, look. And that is kind of it. Now the only other thing that we need to do is get a nut and a washer, and we'll put the other one back onto the battery now. This one, yeah, we can still see that, cool. So that goes onto there, and then that goes on there, lovely jubbly. I'll get away with that just about. Nice and tight. Now, always check your work prior to putting the battery back on. Make sure you've got everything in the right order. Now, obviously, we know this is the main POS, which is going to go into the car. This is your alternator feed, which will then recharge your battery, and then you've got your auxiliaries. Now put your fuses back in. Like I said, I'm going to leave the fan one out while I'm doing some testing on that, because that is an issue, but the rest of it is all good. So there is us. Now I'll put the battery back on. Make sure it's tight rather than loose like it was, because a loose connection is dangerous. So because if it can jump off or it can arc, it won't be a great connection. It could spark, it could cause your battery to go flat, it could ruin your alternator, or it could just cause you no end of problem, like you've got an issue. Now the cover I've just left clipped off for the video. I'll just clip that back on, clip that away, and then we're good again. Like I said, if you've got a cover, most of the time they break here, so people just take them off. But that is perfectly fine. Stick the cover on, everything's good. Like I said, I will be replacing this cable. If you need to know, or you want any bits about how to replace these, or looms, or repairs and stuff, drop us a message. I'll put it in the video description, my email address and that. Go check out the website. Loads of how-tos. I've done loads of write-ups on all the bits we've done, and all some of the other stuff we're going to have coming up. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed that. Hope you found that helpful. Like I said, I'll stick that picture up again now, just so you've got it for reference as to what is what. But as always, guys, any questions, let us know. See in the comments who's had this issue before, who's had it replaced, whose is melted. I expect to see at least 50% of them saying yeah. But yeah, until the next one, guys, bye for now.